gonna be nice this time. I'm gonna try not to cuss anybody out. I'm gonna try. I was trying to think of what I actually want to do a video about, and I was having trouble coming up with an idea, so I decided to just do one about my random thoughts. I actually had several thoughts that I wanted to run through, but I didn't want the video to be terribly long, so I'm just going to cut it down to probably 2 or 3. The first thought being whores. I actually don't have an unfavorable view of whores because, for me, I think that being a whore is really just the affectation of something else that's going on in somebody's life. I don't think that being a whore is a terribly bad thing. Not that I think it's a good thing, but I don't think it's a terribly bad thing for the simple fact that a lot of people actually like whores and a lot of people actually want to be whores. Like I said, when you think of being a whore as being the affectation of something else, it becomes a little bit easier to understand. Let me give you an example. Think about our American society. We make a lot of things taboo, off limits. We don't talk about it, we don't discuss it, and we're not prepared with how to deal with it when those things arise, which they always arise. Think about it. In church, they tell you don't have sex until you're married. Okay, they tell you that from a very young age. It's a sin to fornicate. You're not supposed to do it. Granted, all of them did it, but we're not going to talk about that right now. So, from the beginning, you're told not to do something, but you don't actually know why you're not supposed to do it, and you don't actually understand the nature of it, which, to me, sets you up for failure. I mean, at some point in all of our lives, we have all had elaborate sexual fantasies or elaborate sexual dreams that we thoroughly enjoyed. The difference is we didn't act those things out, not necessarily because we thought it was all that wrong, but because we knew that it wasn't that good for us. How many of you would actually, if there were no negative consequences to having frivolous, carefree sex, would actually go out and engage in that activity if you didn't have to actually suffer from some of the possible repercussions? Probably a healthy number of you. And that is something that actually needs to be looked at. Now, granted, I can hear the self-righteous people talking about you're not supposed to do that because God says it's not supposed to, and the Bible says, and pastor says, and it's a sin, and you're going to go to hell. I'm going to get to them self-righteous hoes in another video, though. Trust me, I'm going to rip them a new one. When you couple all of that with the fact that we're ill-prepared, ill-informed, they don't tell us what to do with the sexual nature of our humanity, then it's really not that surprising that some people do become, whores and stray down that promiscuous path. The only reason some of us didn't stray down that promiscuous path was because our parents made it inconvenient to do so, i.e., someone was always home, you didn't have a car, you didn't have any money. I mean, you can have sex in the car, but that's not cute. But to those that had the means and the motive, that's why they were able to do that. Because you didn't have the means and the motive, that gave you the opportunity to see the consequences of those types of actions. And now you had a frame of reference to where you realize that is not something that is good for me to partake in. Like I said, you don't really not do something because someone tells you not to do it. I mean, let's look at the classic example of Adam and Eve. God told them not to eat of the fruit of this tree or you'll surely die. Well, what did that mean to them? Nobody had ever died before. They had no frame of reference. So that was really almost an empty threat because they had nothing to base it against. Had they had something to base that against, they may have made another decision and chose not to partake in that particular action, and then Satan would have had to come at them with another angle to get them to do what he wanted them to do. Now, the self-righteous people will be like, you're supposed to give your life to Christ, and you're supposed to live your life for God, and you're supposed to follow after the Spirit and not do what the flesh tell you to, and if God said not to do it, then it's a sin, and that should be enough. Let me tell you something about them self-righteous hoes. Them self-righteous hoes, they give you the best whores, they give you the best sex, they give you the best weed, they give you the best drug addicts, they give you the best wife beaters, they give you the best child molesters, they give you the best thieves, they give you the best coke heads, they give you the best of the worst. The reason that they Bible thump all the time is because they are used goods. And the very thing that they Bible thumping about is the very demon that they sit and have tea time with on a daily basis. Trust me, I'm going to get to them self-righteous hoes in another video, and it's going to be all that. Like I was saying earlier, we like whores in this country. Look how many people have become famous and have become celebrities overnight for being whores. They're on the cover of all the magazines. They get all the reality TV shows. I mean, look at VH1. VH1 is nothing but the exploitation of women and women acting whore-ish, like Love and Hip Hop. I'm not even going to address that. So when I see someone that is a whore, I don't necessarily see somebody that is a degenerate or someone that is bad. I just see them as someone who has not made the connection that this activity and this behavior is not good for me. But the thing is, when they do realize that it's not good for them, they'll turn away from that and they'll never go back. And then that's when the good stuff starts to actually happen. That's when the Lord can actually start to actually use them, because now they've been humbled by those experiences. And because they've been humbled, that's when they can do their greatest work in those areas and go and snatch other people out of that downward spiral. And that's what it's about. At some point before this ride is over, we're all going to be humbled in some area. And it's usually those areas that we get humbled in and broken down in that we're able to do our greatest work. That's just my perspective.